poll. Yeah, we have behavioristic poll. We have, unfortunately, it seems that the slides are not showing for the others. Yeah, it seems that you didn't see any movement of my slides. Okay. The others on the screen, they are reporting. Yes, the screen is not moving for them online on Teams. They are reporting that. They are still on this first slide. Yeah, now they can see it. Oh, okay, we can do it something like this. Yeah, now they can see it. So as we said, yeah, unfortunately, it will not be slideshow. Yeah, they cannot. So if we make it slideshow, they cannot see it. See? Yeah, they can see it. Okay. So I'll use it without the slideshow. So we have the behavioristic poll, we have the communicative poll, and now we are using the integrated poll. That, as I told you, it's not a new concept. It went through different developmental phases. It started as some drills and practices on computer, where the learner is going to use the computer as a tutor. They will do the activities online, on the computer using a specific program. This started in the 60s and the 70s, and they will receive the right answer on their own without any help of any tutor. So this happened with the use of some software programs in the early 70s, and the program was fed with the answer key. So the student kept thinking, are we going to be required to memorize, or no need to memorize since the program is providing the answer key anyway? So if I miss the answer, no problem, the answer key will pop up all of a sudden. So this has been criticized, and that's why we moved from behavioristic code to the communicative code. And here it was an extension of using computers as a tutor, but now they added some other apps which depended on the CD-ROM and the use of all the floppy disk and all these old data, if you're old enough to remember the floppy disk and all these things. And here the computer was acting as a stimulus. They tried to get students' response to some action or some tasks, so they will promote their critical thinking and their skills in English in general. Therefore, computers was or were still used as a tool, and now, or starting from the 90s, they till this present time, they are using computers via multimedia and hyperlinks, and with the use of internet and open access and YouTubes and all of these. So this is what I tried to incorporate in my program, the suggested program for the TEFL course. I tried to post for them on LMS every app they can use to access more data related to methods of teaching, to access other classes or video for classroom practices, good practices on YouTube, and all the other things. So what is the criteria, or what are the criteria for course development? Of course, it depends on the nature of the course. So if I'm teaching a skill-based course like developing academic writing or reading comprehension or oral and presentation skills, of course, my design for the course is not going to be similar to content-based courses. In skill-based courses, usually we try to get the students to read something or write about something of their interest. We try to build the curriculum based on the student characteristics. Of course, in this course, we are targeting elementary stage. Any method that is applicable for elementary stage can be adapted and modified to be applicable on secondary stage, of course, and even university stage. So therefore, in this program, we worked on considering Bloom's taxonomy, lower order thinking and higher order thinking, giving the students variety of activities that accommodate all levels of thinking, accommodates their characteristics as having short attention span, as having curiosity about everything, as having the ability to move all day long, and they don't want to sit by the desk no matter what you say to them. So all of these points should have been considered when we developed the lesson plan. And this is what I tried to put in this program, to consider all the things related to building a good lesson plan, as Mr. Martin just presented in his talk. So we considered different perspectives to Bloom's taxonomy. We're not standing or stopping at the higher order thinking of evaluation anymore. We are evaluating the task and then creating a new phase of this task. So that's why the higher order thinking took the students into the implementation phase. That's why we use project-based program, because the project-based program is student-centered. We are depending on the students to perform that project. It develops their self-directed learning, to become autonomous learner. All these good features help me to design the course. As I told you, this course was developed for AAU students who are studying the TESOL course and an elective course. And the program posted on LMS was a supplementary program. The participants were AAU students registered at Faculty of Language Studies. Most of them were under 30 years old. And of course, we had males and females. The sample was not that huge, because we have one control sample and one experimental sample or group. And we tried to get to the hypothesis if the suggested program or suggested supplementary program following COL is going to be effective in promoting their teaching skills, in our TEFL skills, in writing a lesson plan and delivering a demo class presentation. So the objective was to help them to develop their knowledge and to get familiar with the information about all the traditional methods of teaching, and integrating the cognitive approach, natural approach, and most of all, or the most important one, is total critical response. So we used to get them to move like what Mr. Martin just did with you. Let's stand up and let's play. Simon says, stand up. Okay, if you want to stand up, okay, stand up. Okay, so let's play this. Stand up. Okay, stand up. Simon said, sit down. Simon said, stand up. Simon said, after lunch we can't move. So Simon said, raise your hand, raise your left arm. Okay, right arm, left arm, right arm. All of these, thank you. You can sit down. You may sit down. Okay, yeah, Simon said. So playing such games or teaching the students to use or make use of these games in class would help the students to be more energetic, to be more involved, because remember, after all, nobody wants to sit all the time passive recipients, receiving information without doing anything. So that's why we used to ask them to make the mystery bag game. Like, for example, in my bag, what do you expect to find? And the one who's going to get this, the one who's going to take the item you get. So they would say fruits, candy, a pen, any item, and whenever they, and by the way, this is not only for the kids. Even Mr. Farhan in EL 118, he applied this in the mystery box. The students can touch the box, what's inside the box without seeing, and they start predicting. All of these are developing the student sensation and critical thinking and imagination, especially at an early age. And it's fun and more fun with elder people as well. Yes? Okay. Uh-huh. Like puzzles. You give them like puzzles? Uh-huh.
Like, so you give to that question like cow starts with which letter?
Uh-huh.
So we can the answers from them so we can discover it.
So they can find a cow toy, a picture of a cow, something like this, so, and a cat, and then they start connecting that the letter of the day is the C. Predict. Yes. Uh-huh. Excellent. Very good. So these, yes, please. Go ahead. Yeah, this one.
So I'm just wondering, who do you think, not the other one, the other part?
The new one, the updated version, yeah. We're talking about 1 day plan, the lesson plan per 1 day, not per unit, not per year, with all the short-term objectives that are going to be attained or achieved by the end of the 45-minute session. So for this session, that one who's doing the objective should be the tutor in accordance with the goal, which is sent from the main aim of the whole curriculum designed by the Ministry of Education or the school rules. Mm-hmm. Of course. But by the way, while we are performing any activity, you start with the comprehension. You give them knowledge to start comprehending and understanding this. This is the new one that moving from knowledge into remembering what you said to them, and then moving from comprehension to understanding how they are going to apply it later. That's why application has become applying, actual doing as an active verb. And then later on, analyzing points of similarities, differences, detecting any irregularities, and all of these things as a sort of analysis, which is higher order thinking. So in one activity, you can apply all, because they cannot reach the stage of analyzing and finding connection between similarities and differences. This is black and this is black, this is red and this is red, unless they understand the item they are watching or they are looking at in class. If they are watching a video, or if you gave them a riaya in class or something like this. So in order to reach the stage of creating something new, like producing something as productive skills, as speaking skills, or writing skills, they have to comprehend and process information and start applying them until we get them to do a higher order thinking. And all should be done under your control, under your guidance. This is the role of you as a facilitator for facilitating learning in classroom. That's my point. Inquiry-based learning, excellent. So they have to you have to help them to scaffold in order to reach this stage of inquiry-based. Yeah, exactly, in stages. So the game I just shared with you, like the mystery game or Simon Says or any other game, is going to be implemented via following the top-bottom approach and the bottom-up. The top-down or the and bottom-up approaches are integrated or should be integrated together. That's why we're talking about integrative code. We get the students to start from the fragments of the language, like phonemes or morphemes, and then start combining these phonemes and morphemes into words and sounds, and start interpreting them into phrases and then clauses or sentences, and so on. But at the same time, I need to get them to understand why we're doing this. I need to show them the big picture, why they are requested to do this activity, because research has proven that when the students are aware of what's the end product and what is required from them, their internal motivation is going to be increased and they will be more excited to perform the task with you, even if it's a game. They will not feel that this is something silly or this is something easy I can handle. They will feel the aim or they will know the importance of this if you tell them from the beginning that following the top-bottom approach, this activity is about what and what is requested exactly to perform and to get into that end product. And again, all what I'm talking about today is, of course, applicable on all stages. The sample I adopted for this study was for teaching English for elementary stage, but it is applicable on secondary, and I even apply on my students in university. Okay, so what is the model that we have adopted up to now? We are adopting the constructor-active model. Constructor-active model is a model developed by Fahakian and Renee in 2005. They built their model based on Bloom's taxonomy. If you look at the model, you will find that they are following the same levels of critical thinking, or sorry, lower order thinking, in order to reach the higher order thinking until they implement the critical thinking skills. So that's why it starts with encouraging environment. As we said, we cannot get the students to participate and feel free to talk and not shy if the classroom environment is intimidating or disencouraging, or teacher is allowing other students to mock at each other or to bully each other, or even the teacher himself. Like what Professor Adil started with Fishan saying in the opening remark. Come on, how can you say something like this? All of these negative comments would stay in their memory. And any, what we call any error that they would make and you try to correct directly would stay in their memory, and they would feel they are incapable, incompetent, they won't be able to progress, and they will hate the course, they will hate the language, and because they hate the teacher. So that's why we encourage them to connect information and build knowledge and act upon and evaluate and do all the stages as shown, but in a very encouraging environment where mistakes are tolerated, because we are all humans. And of course, at the same time, they are corrected in an indirect way. Like they can say something and I can repeat it after them in the right manner. And believe me, the one who made this mistake in pronunciation or grammar or whatever has been met, he is the one or she is the one who's going to catch what's going on, and they will realize their mistakes. That's why we adopted Solar's model for project development. We asked the students to come up with a topic related to how to design a lesson plan, of course, to promote English language and promoting ethics and values like honesty, like integrity, like teamwork, cooperation. And believe me, the students were amazingly happy and clever in delivering many lesson plans related to many stories about calling wolves. I remember this one, the one who kept calling the whole villagers, there is a wolf, there is a wolf. Yeah, I forgot the title. Crying wolf, yeah, crying wolf, and many other things, how the integrity will save the day and would save you as a human later on. And of course, many other types of cooperation, respecting, avoiding bullying others, and many other good values that we can instill in our students. So one of the students once told me, why? I'm teaching English. Why should I have a theme, for example? Why you're asking us to develop a theme related to ethics and values or social interaction? Because again, we're not teaching English, we're teaching cultures. You cannot teach the language unless you are aware of the background of this language. You cannot accommodate this new language into your society unless you can find the link between their culture, the culture of this Western language, and your Oriental culture, and how to make this link in class. And again, this is related to the tutor. If you are passionate enough, you're going to find a way to get the students to be passionate about learning the language and the foreign language, as we said. So that's why the methodology adopted here was to get the students to perform a lesson plan that has different stages, as I'm going to present now, and then to get and then to observe them via a checklist that has been developed by me, the researcher, and I had an interpreter reliability with one of my colleagues to make sure that we are objective in our comments and in our feedback to the students. So the students were asked to follow 3 stages in developing their lesson plan and 3 stages while conducting any activity. Because again, we said we're going to follow a top-down approach and bottom-up. So we cannot just go to the classroom and start throwing things at the students. Everything has to come in scope and sequence, even inside that 45 minutes per session. So they need to develop a lesson plan that has pre-stage, during stage, and post-stage. For the 3 stages, they have to start with a warm-up, icebreaker. Icebreaker can be something that they have studied before to build on the schemata and previous knowledge, or what we call constructivism. Because remember, I tried to adopt the constructor-active model, which means adopting constructivism and active learning in class, where all the students are active participants in class, building on the students' prior knowledge or previous information. So that warm-up can be a homework you gave them in the previous day that connects what you covered in the previous day with what you're about to present on this day. And it can be a game, it can be a story, it can be a short questions with short answers, depending on your nature. That's why we tell, if your lesson is planned well, you're going to be a successful teacher. Because if you just go to the classroom unprepared and say, okay, today we're going to talk about this, what do you think? Okay, nice, goodbye, thank you. This is not going to be an effective teacher. So the warm-up is going to pave the way for the during stage, which is the presentation and practice, and then later the application. So inside this stage, you're going to talk about all the things that you are going to present. You're going to present the receptive skills, because usually you are showing them a video or you are giving them something to read, and listening to something, an audio or a video, or reading something. All of these are receptive skills where the students are going to receive information. But then you're gonna ask them to group themselves, or you group them into groups or at least in pairs to perform as an activity, which is going to be the application or practice and application. Usually the practice is done in groups, and usually the application is done individually, just to make sure by the end of the day that everyone is taking something home. They have the ability to use a word in a sentence, or to identify a shape, or identify color, or identify days of the week, or anything related to the target or the main aim of your lesson plan. Later on, after you make sure that they have something to take home, you're going to start the assessment process, which actually starts from the beginning. While you are doing the warm-up activity, if you raise some questions, you're assessing if they are if they are answering in the right direction or not. And otherwise, you need to direct them back on the scope or the main thing you want them to focus on. And of course, when you are asking them to do something in practice or in application phase, also you're going to be a moderator, you're going to be a monitor. As Professor Aziz mentioned today, it's related to Christian's theory that affective filter, we should lower the affective filter, the mental block for our students, to get them to help them or to get them to acquire knowledge more. Because if their mental block is very high, they will not be able to acquire the language, because they would feel shy, they would feel I'm not competent enough to say something or to participate, and others are going to notice me or something like that. So assessment and follow-up is very important. And even thinking about the follow-up is also important, because your follow-up is not going to only be a homework, it can be the bridge for the next day session. So it can be a homework that evaluates and assesses the learning that has been attained on this day and what you're about to present on the very next day. So it's like a cyclical operation or process, as we said again. So these are some screenshots of the program posted on LMS for the TEFL 4. These are some exercises about teaching receptive skills, which is the listening skills with the audio, with the links, with the more hyperlinks, and forum with links for the students to interact with each other and to give feedback on the difficulty of the task, relevancy, and all of these things. And this is another screenshot of the teaching listening for the audio. This is for teaching productive skills for the speaking. And of course, this is the reading, and they have videos about different reading strategies and how to implement these reading strategies in the classroom, and how to teach all these 4 skills, and of course, the productive writing skills. So the students would look at all these examples and use them in designing their own lesson plan, and this is going to be demonstrated in their demo class presentation. So the assessment performed in this experiment was performance assessment based on authentic tasks, which is designing a lesson plan, and a t-test was performed to compare the results of the students from the control group and the experimental group, and this is the test score with the standard deviation. And based on the test results, we can presume that any computer-assisted language program can help in many tasks, including teaching TEFL or teaching English as a foreign language, and this has been confirmed via research. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Questions? No questions? Yes, please.